It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. Boy, am I glad you're here with us this morning. Those of you who are joining us on our website, I am very happy to see you out there. I see Sioux Falls, I see Lincoln, Chicago, Linganore, Bartonsville, not quite sure what that or where that is, Huntington, I see Baton Rouge, I see Fort Walton Beach and Baltimore, I see Florida out there. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining with us. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. We're going to cover a number of different topics on our program this morning, including that China is warning of a wave of bankruptcies in 2014. What you don't know, and what the media is not really telling you, is that the cards are beginning their slow motion fall. And never let it be said that you were not warned. As China begins to contract, and their economy is contracting, as Russia basically commits suicide over Crimea, I think you're going to see, over the course of a fairly short period, the degradation of the global financial world. And you should be concerned, because everything that affects those countries affects you and our domestic financial situation. Our second topic is going to be the DOJ and how they are blocking a probe. Get this. They're blocking a probe that would enable a federal grand jury to gather evidence that prosecutors have come up with out of Utah on two people. Number one, of course, who else could be in the mix but Dirty Harry Reid? And secondarily, Mike Lee, the Republican senator who has been making a lot of waves in the Tea Party movement. Both of them are, and there's substantial evidence to back the play that, and this is an exclusive, by the way, on Washington Times, but there's an enormous amount of evidence that indicates that these two have had some skullduggery going on. And, of course, Dirty Harry is he's no stranger to corruption. Dirty Harry has been, for a long time, up to his eyeballs in corruption. Lee is accused of cutting a sweet deal for a supporter on a house that he had that went bankrupt. And he basically bought this house for like $1.1 million and then sold it to this supporter for $770,000 or something. And essentially the argument is that he allowed the bank to take the fall with him, and the bank is pretty upset about it. The DOJ refuses to allow a federal grand jury to be called that would be able to gather more evidence. So even as the FBI says the charges have merit, the DOJ will not cooperate. Imagine that. So the FBI is relegated to helping two courageous state prosecutors who have no federal jurisdiction, and they have no ability to gather the evidence, so the corrupt are protecting the corrupt. The DOJ is a hotbed of venomous vipers. And I got to tell you, they must be eradicated, because otherwise there is no way any one of us have reason to believe that justice can ever be had in this nation. And that is going to be the beginning and the intro to our third topic, which is a very disturbing decision by the Supreme Court in a non-decision. What do I mean by that? Well, for starters, SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, and you'll hear them referred to as SCOTUS frequently, and you should know what that term means, and you should be following everything that the SCOTUS does, because all of it affects you. 9 black-robed, self-important individuals who declare that they are the final arbiters of our Constitution have made a determination that it's okay to utilize a no-knock warrant, pound in your door, as long as, even though you own lawful guns and you're not a prohibited owner, if there are guns present on the premise, they have the right to pound your door in and come in unannounced in a no-knock warrant system. Now, the guy who's been trying to get the court to certify this, he had a lot of help, including from groups like the Rutherford Institute and these civil liberties groups. The courts declined to hear the case, and that's the non-decision part. They've essentially upheld lower courts who have determined that if guns even exist in the premise, they don't have to knock. Here's where the rubber hits the road, folks. The guys whose door they pounded in, he wasn't even the perpetrator. They believed his son may have had illicit drugs in the house. And the guy, they didn't knock. They just pounded in his door and stormed in. He, thinking his home was under invasion, reached for a gun and they shot him. They found less than a gram of coke of his son's, and they charged him with it to justify shooting him. I got to tell you, folks, this is the last mile sprint to the police state. And I'm warning you now, and I'm reiterating Jefferson's clear warning to you. When all government, domestic and foreign, in little as in great things, shall be drawn to Washington as the center of all power, it will render powerless the checks provided of one government on another, and will become as venal and oppressive as the government from which we separated. So for the record, I'm here to tell you, we are way past Jefferson's milestone. All right, our fourth target this morning is going to be the NSA spying scandal, and it's going to be in a roundabout way, because you've heard me talk about it before. So let's understand what we are going to address on this. They keep telling us, listen, this is metadata. It's all anonymous. Nothing can be determined about you. Major lie. How do we know that? Well, there was a university that did a study, and in less than about 30 to 60 minutes, they were able to take metadata and find out your address, your identity, where you shop, who your doctors are, where you worship, who your friends are, where do you visit and how often, where do you work, what do you invest in, what do you buy and where, and and all of that's within an hour of just using a public database. Hello? Those of you who say, but I don't do anything wrong, why should I care if they monitor my stuff? Here's why. You are the leverage. You are the pry bar. You're the individual who's a pry bar that will be used against your family members, your friends, your neighbors, your sons, your daughters, your mothers and fathers. You're a fool if you think that there is no way that any of this matters to you. You're a fool if you think that the CIA spying on the Senate is acceptable. You're a fool if you think the CIA spying on you is acceptable. I'm reminded of a quote by a guy named Bugs Bunny, who has more credibility than the NSA, the FBI, Obama, Clapper, and all those other liars who are trying to tell you that metadata is anonymous. What a maroon. What a gullible. All right, we're going to get into our first segment. Before we do, I want to remind you of something. If you are here in Missouri, there's two things I want to talk to you about, and I'm going to keep this brief. One is the fact that we are very, very close to wrapping the Second Amendment Preservation Act here in the state of Missouri. In fact, there was an article yesterday in the New American talking about how close Missouri is to finally getting the Second Amendment Preservation Act passed a second time. Now, the first time, for you who are not in Missouri, it was vetoed. The Second Amendment bill that Missouri has is by far, and this is not by my estimation, this is stated by outside individuals, including the 10th Amendment Center and many other patriotic or constitutional organizations, that Missouri's Second Amendment bill is the strongest legislation in the nation, barring the federal government from having any role in whether or not you own firearms, what you own, how you own them, and this includes everything from the 1968 Gun Control Act, including all the way back to the 1934 NFA Act. So in other words, Missouri's stand is this. Whatever we pass in Missouri, those are our laws. Whatever you pass in Washington doesn't apply. It's the principle of nullification. Secondarily, we are literally on the cusp of getting this approved. There's only, I think, one more vote in the House. The Senate's already approved it. It is expected to hit the governor's desk before, I think, the middle of next week. And here's what you need to do. If you are a citizen in Missouri, and even if you're not, you need to get in contact with all of the state and House representatives and state legislators and state senators and ensure that this bill passes, and not only that, but it passes with a veto-proof majority, and that those who vote for it now will not do what they did last time and turn around and change their vote when it comes time to override the inevitable veto from this demonic governor we have. He's a liar. He's a dyed-in-the-wool, big government liberal, and he will do anything and everything he can to hurt this state. For the record, Missouri is 49th out of 50 states in job creation, ladies and gentlemen. Hello? Oh, and by the way, they're trying to pass the ability to have. Last time they tried to do paycheck protection because they were afraid to go after the unions like Michigan did, and they got their butts handed to them. And this time they're going after it as a full fight against. You can still join a union, but the union can't force you to pay dues. They can't make you join, and they can't use your dues for political campaigns you don't agree with. Governor's, of course, going to try to veto that too. We've got anti-Agenda 21 bills going on here, anti-Common Core bills going on here, Convention of the States, Article 5 bills in the House. So make sure that if you're in Missouri, you are working hard to keep in contact with your elected Congress critter, whether that be a state representative or a state senator. Our assembly is working towards state sovereignty at the very least. And yes, we have to poke and prod them and force them to move on, but they are getting it done, sometimes unwillingly. Those who are doing it willingly, I applaud you, and I'm certainly not taking anything away from you. But my job is not to cater to you like the rest of the media does to everybody else in politics. My job is to say, when you've done good, you've done good. When you've done wrong, I'm going to expose it. All right. Since we are coming up in the 2014 election year, the Constitution Party needs your help. If you are sick and tired of the Republican and Democrat duopoly in this nation, stop participating. Become someone on the other side of the fence who's going to either run in the Constitution Party or as an independent or perhaps under the Libertarian Party. The Constitution Party is looking for people who will become, for all intents and purposes, just like the committee men and committee women of the Republican and the Democrat Party. They need one person per county. Actually, they prefer two, and it has to be one man and one woman so that nobody can say, you're sexist. Anyway, the point is this. If you are interested and you want to participate, you got to file before March 25th to be the committee man or committee woman in your community and in your county. And the truth is, you're going to run unopposed, so there's almost no chance that you won't get it. There's no fee required, and the only thing you got to do is you got to be a member of the Constitution Party, which I think is $30. It's so cheap, it's ridiculous. And so everybody wants to know, well, what will I have to do? And the answer is that you basically don't, you've got to, from time to time, have an occasional meeting. But we're not talking about, weekly meetings, monthly meetings, or anything like that. Once you have a committee, there is occasional meetings and sometimes service requests. And sometimes, as an example, let's say they got a candidate running. They want you to go out and help them put up signs and stuff like that. But that's pretty much what you're talking about. Many hands make light work, ladies and gentlemen. Do this now. Get off the dime of the duopoly system that has kept a stranglehold on liberty and freedom and self-governance in this nation for the last 150 years. Look back at the last 125. Have we gotten one benefit out of the Republican-Democratic duopoly? Nope, not one. All they do is bounce us back and forth like a tennis ball. And the truth of the matter is, no sooner do we find that there's something that can be solved, then they give themselves loopholes, They apply all these restrictions on us, and they spend our money like drunken sailors. And I apologize in advance to you drunken sailors, because I know that you really don't want to be associated with the scum in Congress. But it occasionally happens. So here's the point. Make sure that you're contacting. There's a guy named Doug Enyart who ran last session, and he's the head of the the committee chair group. You can call him at 573-429-7800. That's 573-429-7800. You can also, I'm going to give you 3 numbers for him. He's got a cell phone, an office phone, and a home phone. And they're in order: cell, office, and home. Again, that cell number, 573-429-7800. Office number, 573-223-7010. That's 573-223-7010. Last number, home, 573-223-2561. Here's the deal. Get a hold of him. You've got to file before the March 25th cutoff date. And there's no fee to do that. You just go down to your county courthouse. But he can explain to you what you need to do, and there's no financial disclosure required, none of that kind of thing. So you're not actually running for an office. You're running to be a party committee person, okay? So it's not like an elected office. You do have to join the Constitution Party. It's $30 a year, and student membership is $15 a year. You can find their website at cpmo.us. CP for Constitution Party. MO for Missouri. I don't care if you're not in Missouri. If you're in another state, make sure that you're contacting the Constitution and the Libertarian Party, or whichever party you best affiliate yourself with in your state. And let's break the back of the duopoly system. If you are a dyed-in-the-wool Republican who's a member of that party, then I'm not asking you, I'm not encouraging you, I'm demanding that you run as a committee man or committee woman, and you make sure that you're helping us vet the next person that they're going to put up. Because if we keep getting people up there like Boehner, and we keep getting people up there like all the rest of these traitors, Lindsey Graham and John McCain, and guys who can't make ends meet, right? We're talking about guys like Mitt Romney. I mean, come on, what kind of a candidate was he? John McCain is a candidate against Obama? What an embarrassing joke. I wouldn't let John McCain walk my dog. So do your part, break the back of the system from the inside, while the rest of you who are not registered go out there and fight them on the outside by joining the Constitution Party or the Libertarian Party and doing something about this. You know, I posted a thing up on our Facebook page the other day that is very important because it clearly expresses where we are and what needs to be done. You know, this argument about sitting around and expecting someone else to ride up like a white knight in shining armor on a magnificent white steed and save us from ourselves is nonsense. Either you're going to do it or we're going down in flames. Because this is insanity, ladies and gentlemen. Allowing our government to dictate the rules to us about everything from where and how and under what circumstances you can go to the bathroom, to what light bulb you're going to get, to whether or not you can have a wood stove, to whether or not you can drive on this highway or drive on that highway that we paid for. Come on. Not to mention the fact that we live in a police state. Go look at the surveillance cameras everywhere and the way law enforcement is treating us like as if it's us versus them, and we're a group of insurgents in Iraq or Afghanistan. Come on. If you refuse to believe that we've turned into a police state with your elected leadership at the head, it's because you won't lift the mask off your eyes. You fear the truth because you're too complacent. You're too afraid to admit what will necessitate action on your part that will endanger your comfy cocoon of apathy, your ease, and your acquiescence to the most heinous form of tyranny. Don't play that role. Not and listen to this show. All right, we got 4 minutes left, and I got to cover China's stunning announcement yesterday. I'm sorry, I got caught up in this thing with the party. China's premier has come out and publicly stated and warned investors that they should prepare for a wave of bankruptcies. It is the world's second largest economy. and they are facing, quote, and this is the Premier's language, not mine, serious challenges, end quote. And many companies with these massive debts that they've built up over the course of a few last good years are now up against the wall. And when China tells you that you're up against the wall, and that's their words, not mine, when China tells you you're up against the wall, you better be nervous, because usually when you're up against the wall, the next thing they ask you is, do you want a cigarette in a blindfold? I mean, this is unbelievable, guys. Here's the deal, and here's why you need to worry. If China goes down the tubes, guess what? That's going to drag us over the suicide cliff with them. That's going to drag Russia over the suicide cliff with them. That's going to drag India over the suicide cliff with them. You know why? Because the globalists have been working for decades to make sure that we live in a globalized society. And of course, coming with a globalized society, you know what you get? I'm going to tell you what you get. You get an interrelated, interconnected economies that are incestuous at best. And incestuous, I mean it in the worst way. These economies are so tightly intertwined and so integral to each other that at any given moment, if one falters, the rest of them fail as well. And it's by design. Because ultimately the goal is, when the whole bubble bursts, when the entire thing goes, you know what happens? They get to clamp down on you, including right here domestically in the United States. And if you don't think we're implying, and if you don't think that we are applying the principles of martial law here domestically in the United States, you're a self-blinded fool. We will, you're going to pay. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to tackle our second topic, and I promise you that I will stick to the plan here. I know I didn't get a chance to really cover this Chinese thing. You can find the article on our website, on our Facebook page, and on our YouTube channel, and on Patriot FB. And it will be in the body of the comment section about the video. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to talk about the DOJ and how they're blocking a probe of Dirty Harry Reid and Mike Lee, the Tea Party boy. We'll be back in just a moment.